You're fine, you're fine.
Hale.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, May 9th, 2022 at 9 a.m. I would like to call this Commissioners Court into session. We will have a pledge of allegiance and an invocation by Commissioner Miller. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now an invocation by Commissioner Miller.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Make our path straight. Bless us as we go through this day. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Now we will approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 25th, 2022, special meetings of April 5th, 2022, and April 29th of 2022. And y'all have all had these in your packets. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Milner. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is our county auditor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I have several budget amendments, so if y'all will bear with me this morning. Okay, the first budget amendment is to recognize unbudgeted revenue for the general fund and insurance recoveries in the amount of $17,994.57. And this is for repairs to a 2017 Chevrolet pickup in the sheriff's office, VIN number 9799.
Okay, we have heard on the insurance recovery from the auditor's office. Any discussion over this? All right, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Miller,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next budget amendment is for the sheriff's office insurance recoveries in the amount of $17,489.83. And this is to recognize the unbudgeted expense for the repairs to the 2017 Chevrolet pickup, VIN number 9799. And the revenue received has been recorded in insurance recoveries.
We have received bill for insurance recovery from the auditor's office. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Milner. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, my next budget amendment is to recognize unbudgeted revenue for the ARPA revenue in the amount of $9,749.10. And this is for the CTSI Watch It with Cyber Defense Management Services and for a one-time implementation fixed fee. And as I've explained to the court before, I'm only moving this money as we spend it. So that's what this is, to recognize that.
This is, you say unbudgeted?
Unbudgeted revenue.
Unbudgeted revenue of $9,749.10. And I would entertain a motion as the auditor has presented. Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Milner. All those in favor say aye.
Okay. My next budget amendment is to recognize unbudgeted expense for CTSI in the amount of $3,579.99. And this is for the April 2022 monthly Watch It with Cyber Defense Management Services expense. And the revenue received has been recorded in insurance, I'm sorry. That does not apply. Disregard. My pre-recording. Getting all confused this morning.
This is for the unbudgeted expense from CTSI in the amount of $3,579.99. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Miller,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
My next budget amendment is also to recognize unbudgeted expense for, in the amount of $3,579.99. And this is for CTSI May 2022 monthly Watch It with Cyber Defense Management Services.
All right, this is unbudgeted again.
Unbudgeted
expense for the CTI deal, and it is $3,579.99. I would enter, any discussion?
We're gonna receive every time you get a statement from them, you have to do this.
Yes, sir. And the reason for that is because these funds are not budgeted.
Right, okay.
Yes, sir.
This is for our cybersecurity.
So I was going to do that.
Any,
I'll make
any
the
more
motion.
discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Unless the court wants to announce what we're receiving for ARPA funds as a total and have it approved as a total, but the auditor's requesting as the bills are coming in.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because the way I set up this fund right now, we received those funds last year in 2021, and I had to put them into a liability account because they weren't, I'm gonna lose my words. They weren't budgeted funds. And so they have to stay in a liability account until it's unearned revenue is what it is. And so, it stays in a liability account. I'll also do a journal entry to move it from that liability account into the revenue account. Yes, but the budget amendments are to fix the revenues and expenses.
Any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. I should have moved down here.
And just for FYI, it is an audit thing. We have to be careful how we recognize those funds. Okay, my last budget amendment is to recognize unbudgeted expense in the amount of $2,589.12. This is for CTSI, and it is a one-time implementation fixed fee for the Watch It with Cyber Defense Management Service.
Unbudgeted expense for CTSI in the amount of $2,589.12 for the cybersecurity. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Miller,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. That concludes my budget amendments. The next item I have is to approve an order granting discretionary exemption from the County Purchasing Act for food products and food service items for the Hale County Sheriff's Office. And we've done this, we did this last year, it's that time of year again. I have given it to Jim to review, and he's probably got it almost prepared for me.
Shortly after this meeting.
So, it is an exemption so that we don't have to, follow the, County Purchasing Act. So, but we do still send out a packet. We have to get at least 3 send it to at least 3. I send it to 4 vendors, and we do give them until, and I think I left those dates. I think we're gonna try to get it out this week, before the end of the week. We'll email it to all those vendors, and then they'll have until June 6th. Is that what I said? June 6th, and then on, I think it's that Wednesday the 9th, we will prepare them. So if those dates change, I'll bring that back to court next time. That's what I'm asking the court to approve,
To approve the
so that we can go out for,
bids.
so to speak, yes.
We have to do this every,
We have to do it every year because the
Every year.
bid goes over $50,000.
All right, any more discussion on the auditor or county purchasing act for food products and food services items for the Hale County Sheriff's Department? At this moment, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye. Motion carries.
Jim, do I need to include to have the judge sign it after? So if you want to amend your motion to allow the county judge to sign it as soon as we get it prepared. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is our county treasurer.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, we have already approved accounts payable, so I'm gonna move on to my next item, which is the insurance, for the 2 roofs. We have damage in the sheriff's office and in JP3 building. We have received the money, and I'm asking the court to give us direction, Jess and I, direction as to continue and start working on proposals for those 2 roofs. Now, I would like the court to give us time to maybe get past the tornado weather here, but that's gonna give me time to prepare the paperwork that I need to.
You got a year to get it ready.
We got 2 years, sir, but that happened late fall last year.
You have to go, you have to go to bids for the.
Well, I would love, I don't go for bids personally, I do proposals so we can negotiate, so, yes, sir.
Bid was just my terminology.
Yeah.
coming out my-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I just want the court to give us direction to continue and go forward. I know that I spoke to the sheriff and so did Jess in regards to his roof because we're really not sure about the jail, whether we're gonna, how we're gonna proceed with it. So I need a little bit of direction there. I don't need it now, but I will come back to you
okay.
after we maybe can discuss it further on that part.
I mean, to me, as far as the jail, where we're sitting and what we need to do, we're gonna have to fix the roof on the jail, whether we want to or not, we're gonna have to upkeep it until we can go down the road and do something else.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
We're gonna have to repair it.
Okay.
Just keep working like you're working, it'll all be good.
All right.
Since we got to repair it anyway, I mean, it's not a want to, it's a have to.
Okay. So do I have a motion to proceed?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, my next item is, I'm coming before the court to request that the court approve, or not approve, premium pay, what we call premium pay for the employees from the time frame when COVID started, which is March of 2020 through December 2020. Now, I know we went further, but we picked a time frame as of right now. Now, I want to say that I mentioned it to the court when we met over the ARPA funds, and we discussed it, and this portion of it is not coming out of ARPA funds. Melinda and I applied for a grant and we got $403,000, $403,885.
404.
104, I'm sorry. And then Judge and Melinda, and I'm not sure if the sheriff had anything to do with this one, but for $30,000, and it was for COVID funds also. Now, I will say that one that Melinda and I applied for was for payroll, for payroll, premium pay. So, I'm asking the court, I did visit with the judge when we talked about it afterwards at the last meeting. He said, I told him that Melinda and I were being audited, so we agreed that I would come back to the court after we were finished with the auditing process, and I was able to follow his directions in regards to two amounts, that we discussed, and that would be $275 a month for premium pay and $250. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pass these. This is the $250 that I figured for premium pay. Pass this on. That is the $250 amount. The next one I calculated was $275 a month. Now, if you'll look at the column where it says months, we based it on, like I said, March of 2020, maybe December of 2020. So, but we said that if the employee worked from home part of the time, we did deduct those months, I'm sorry. So, I'm asking the court to approve premium pay for the employees that were here for that time frame and worked during the COVID time, and allow us to compensate them like other counties have done. I know I know that Lubbock County, which is one of our closest ones to us, have paid premium pay. And this is funds that we applied for this particular line items. And I think our employees, we all worked through COVID, whether we worked at home or whether we worked in our offices. It affected all of us just like it affected the whole world. And I feel like since we received the funds, and we did receive them almost a year ago, at least one of them, I believe so, that we should be able to compensate our employees for the hard work. Now, these are the employees that were here then and are still here now. So it is through now. It's not through December because, of course, if they're not here, they don't get it. If they didn't, if they weren't hired, or if they were terminated, or they retired, or they resigned for whatever reason they're not here, they don't get it. So I am asking the court to approve this for the employees' pay and ask you to consider their hard work.
All right, we've heard from the county treasurer. I know I have something I need to read, but is there any other discussion in the room?
I'd like to address the court if it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Morning. I don't know if it's ignorance or arrogance of the law, and I certainly want to try to be as diplomatic as possible. But treating any of the employees differently on this, in my humble opinion, and Jim's lawyer, potentially violates the protection clause as well as some employment commission rules. But more importantly than that, we were operating under the governor's orders. And Judge Zerpoli told me that I can speak for her here. She's in a hearing. They were operating under Chief Justice Heck's orders, which told us that we would operate from home as much as possible, that we would not have face-to-face hearings, and that my people were working, and we can produce the documentation. They were still holding hearings. We were still trying to keep county court going as well as the district courts going pursuant to the executive order that we had to operate underneath as the DA's office, which supersedes, with all due respect, this body's authority and certainly supersedes any other elected official that's acting outside the scope of whatever their statutory or constitutional duty is, which in our opinion does not cover deciding what employee gets what arbitrarily. We would, and I'm not, I mean, this is not a threat, I'm just saying that as applied and as proposed is in contravention of what we were required to do under the orders that we were under, which superseded the county commissioner court's authority. And for my people to be penalized, had they known, if that was going to be the case, that the treasurer, who I don't think has the authority to even propose that, but assuming that on some level they do, if that was the case, then from the outset, it should have been said, if you go home and work from home, you're going to be penalized for it on the county level. Whether or not that would have made a difference in what we would have been able to do is questionable, because under Judge Heck's order, the judges were required to report each other subject to sanctions under the state bar rules for violating those rules. So we had no choice. In addition to that, there were other employees that were working from home that are included in this pay schedule, which again, I don't understand the arbitrary application of that. It seems to be, again, trying to be as diplomatic as possible, more of a personal decision than it is one based on professionalism or the facts or logic. So I just wanted to put that before the court, because I don't know, I think when you start acting outside the scope of whatever your statutory authority is in your elected office, that you on some level may lose your immunity and subject yourself to personal liability. Again, I'm just pointing out my view, not only as a lawyer, but as a private citizen looking at this. But I feel like I have a fiduciary duty, and so does Dana, Judge Zerpoli, to speak up on behalf of our employees when we were told what we were going to do. And to penalize anybody for that now is in violation of, from our perspective, several different rules.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then I will read what me and Commissioner Milner and Judge Mall, when we were at our state or West Texas Region Judges and Commissioners Conference, and they harped on this nearly the whole time we were there. So if y'all let me, I will read.
I would like to at least make a statement, okay?
Okay.
With all due respect, Wally, I understand what you're saying, and that's why I did include in my speech a minute ago that whether we worked at home or not, I am going under the direction of what the county judge had told me to do, and it is based on the ARPA funds, okay? The ARPA funds do say that if we worked from home, our employees worked from home, not elected officials, as you and I are, that we would not be compensated. So I am under the direction of this court. This court has the full vote. I'm not stepping out of my boundaries because I didn't tell you you would not get they would not get compensated. I was under the direction of the county judge, sir. So I apologize if you think I'm overstepping. I am not overstepping, and I was told to do it after this my audit, and that's what I'm doing. Now, if you had had a problem with it, I wish you would have called me before, but you didn't do it. Diplomatically, you should have approached me before. So I'm asking the court to consider that I did not act. I'm not an ignorant person. I would not be here. So I'm asking the court to consider that. Thank you.
I'm going to read, like I said, what we learned or what they told us when we were at the West Texas County Judges and Commissioners. And this is coming from Judge Whitley and Bob Bass and Jim Allison and all the people that were down there with us. This is Article 3, Section 53 of the Texas Constitution. The legislature shall have no power to grant or to authorize any county or municipal authority to grant any extra compensation, fee, or allowance to a public officer, agent, servant, or contractor after services have been rendered, or a contract has been entered into and performed in a whole or in part, nor pay nor authorize the payment of any claim created against any county or municipality of the state under the agreement or contract made without authority of law. That's from Article 3, Section 53 of the Texas Constitution. Right below it is a Texas Attorney General opinion number JM-1253. Payments for services rendered in the form of bonuses are prohibited by Article 3, Section 53 of the Texas Constitution, unless the bonus plan is approved as part of a compensation before the services are rendered. And I'm no lawyer, we have two lawyers sitting here.
Can the lawyers please
So
explain?
what that tells me is we can't go back into 2020 or 2021 and compensate these people, whether we think it's good or whether we don't. To me, I'm just reading what the people that write the laws, and I know Jim's over there thinking I can.
Well, and just for the record, I have this on my mind since we started talking about the ARPA funds. I realize you're talking about some different funding, but you cannot pay bonuses to county employees after the fact for work already done. And for example, we have the longevity pay each year. That's technically, I guess, a bonus, but it's set up in our employment, in our personnel policies, and we know it's going to be paid at the end of the year as part of your compensation. So I don't think that you could vote to pay the employees based on work that was done in 2020 today. If you were of a mind to use some of these funds to pay some sort of employee retention pay down the road, I'm not saying it couldn't be set up to comply with the constitutional provision, but I don't think as it sits that you could pay the employees for, in recognition for work done 2020 or 2021 or even last week. So.
Any more discussion? Okay.
So, are you gonna make a vote? I am on the agenda.
Yes, so that's why I was waiting to see if there
Okay.
was any more.
Okay. I want to thank Jim for his opinion, and I totally respect what his opinion is. But I will say this, I will come back again next year, hopefully during budget time, we can go over it and discuss it. Because these funds are there, they have been there a year in the general bank account. And, again, I make no decisions, you know, I come before y'all. I'm elected just like y'all, so I have the right to approach the court in what I think and believe, you know? Now, I did visit with the judge, and we did discuss some things, so I wasn't just acting on my own and all by myself. So, just for you know, just for your knowledge, I will be back. Thank you.
All right, any more discussion? That, I'll entertain a motion on premium pay.
I'll make a motion. Can you come back, coming out of a different fund? Or something different than ARPA?
I'm gonna give that to the auditor. She's the one that handles the books that way.
I don't think you can still go back. That's what this
I'm
plan
saying we
says.
can't go back.
May I say something too for the future, that we, as elected officials, and I'm not speaking for myself, thank God, we have had retro pay, we've had other pays, and, that we have considered. So for the future, I will not pay retro pay, is what you're saying.
I got news
Thank
for you.
you.
I have this sitting in that meeting down there.
Thank you, sir.
And
So,
when they came across,
yes.
I looked at it and I was,
Because we make mistakes,
yes, we do.
so, and overlook raises, overlook compensations, but you're saying we cannot pay retro.
Yeah, if it goes back, I have that sinking feeling in that meeting. And I thought.
And this isn't our first rodeo on that particular,
I agree with you.
you know, that's not our first rodeo, so I'm not surprised that you read that. I am surprised that we are acting on it because we have paid numerous times that way. And that particular, government code has been read and stated, so,
Oh,
and you proceeded to
I
pay.
know where you're at.
Thank you.
Is there
I understand that.
Harold, is there a time frame on this? Jim?
Melina, Jim,
The timeframe, and it's not, the funds don't matter. It's, timeframe is, you can't, after the fact of people working, you can't say whether they deserve it or not. And I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying you can't constitutionally say, well, you did a great job back in 2019, when we were doing something, so we're gonna recognize it now. And it's, like I say, it has, what I'm saying has nothing to do with any judgment on the value of any employee's work. We kept the county running. We were either up here or we were at home. The courts worked,
yes,
the clerks worked, the treasurer, the auditor, we paid the bills, we kept the system going. And at the time, I mean, that's super important. But regardless of all that, the Constitution says you can't come back and then say it. And I also say, I know Lubbock County and I know other counties have made these payments. I don't know how they were set up. I don't know. And I will say, I have cited this same provision. None of you were here on the court when it was going on, but these same provisions about some other issues with pay, and the court voted to do it. So, I mean, I guess, here's the deal about lawyers' advice. You can hire a lawyer and you can pay us and you can get our advice, and then you can turn around and do the exact opposite. And that's just the way the
I
system
don't
works.
know what Abby's talking about, because we've done it, but when this gets put up in front of you, you're talking about ARPA funds, and it doesn't just include ARPA funds, it includes the whole gamut. So,
No, I understand. I just want the court to understand that I'm not here for any reason other than to work with y'all. And I was given some direction, and that's how I'm acting, And it's your call.
yeah,
The employees did work. And we did apply for the funds to be utilized for employee benefit, for their pay.
and I think I can say this, and I can say it for Judge Small. Everybody in this courthouse, whether they were at home or they weren't coming, Jim said, whatever. My guys at the barn showed up every day. Sheriff Cochran's people were there, and they were probably front row center to most of the COVID, with all those people moving in and out of that jail. They showed up every day. This courthouse worked, and those two guys down there in the basement, screening people coming in, they were front row center to it. So it's not that we don't think they deserve something, they do, but we can't go back. From what I'm reading, all that, we can't go back and do that.
So is this is not ARPA funds though, right?
No, it's not
Yeah,
our
but it's
funds.
any funds, Carla, it's any.
No,
funds.
I'm not saying go back. I'm saying pay it now, not say what it's for. I mean, not say that it's covering back. Do it as a bonus, do it as,
Still extra compensation.
It's,
These funds that were received, the ones she's talking about, the
Yeah.
404,000, those were received from the Texas Department of Emergency Management. That was at the very, very beginning when it started. So those funds, we had to apply for those as a reimbursement. It wasn't, and we used the sheriff's office because we had to meet a number. So when we applied for those funds, our allocation was the $404,085. I had to submit enough expense to cover that, and that's what we did through their office. When we received those funds, the county at that time did not act on that. It was put into the general fund, and that's where they've been. I would have to go back and read the guidance and the information on that, but what Jim and I have discussed is that once those funds are put into the general fund, that is county, those are county funds, once they're reimbursed. Now, with that said, there still has to be some kind of criteria to meet to give, if you want to give some kind of one-time,
Bonus.
I don't want to call it a bonus, you cannot do that.
Well, we did
I mean,
that.
but no, we did not, it wasn't called a bonus. When they did the $1,200
Uh-huh.
back in 2013 or 12, whenever that was,
Correct.
it was a cost of
Living.
living
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
expense. And it
Yes.
was done because raises were not
I
given.
like that.
Were not gonna get given, but
What
that is
more?
up to this
What
court.
more can the court not think? We are going through a bad situation because the whole county, because of COVID. So if you want to call it cost of living, if you want to call it whatever, I'm just saying that our people have worked for us. How many people do you have, Harold King, since you served, that have still, that were here when you got here and they are still here? We all have them. Now, I am not even, like in my department and even Melinda's, which I do look at very closely, I have 2 people that qualify, okay? Although the other ones were here, according to what I was told to consider. And Melinda has 2 also. So I'm just saying, and these people are still here. They're not people that have left the county. Now, if you don't want to consider a time frame, hey guys, let's give it to everybody and don't call it a premium pay, you know? My department, we had a payroll, on a payroll week, we were up here doing payroll while I had to shut the office down because every single one of us were tested positive for COVID. So, yes.
I got a question. I know we received that money from the state of Texas back when it all first started. Does this still apply to, that was in 2020, late 2019, whatever, and that money's been sitting in there. Does the same thing apply to, that money sitting in there for that long and us going back and getting it? Because it's been in the budget or in the reserves or whatever.
The source of the money and how long you've had it or anything like that is immaterial. I will suggest to you though, if you were going to do something in the future, you would need, if you're gonna have, it's gonna have to cover every employee in the county, whether they started
It's gonna have to be
last
planned
week
across the
or
board, same for everyone.
in 2019 or whenever. It's gonna have to be something now, you know, maybe you base it on months of service similar to, I mean, it can be set up a lot of different ways, but it's gonna have to, you're not gonna be able to tie it to anything that says this is for what you did in 2020.
Yeah.
That makes sense, so.
Okay, let's get back to this subject. Right now, we are, what this says in the time frame that we're looking at, 2020, 2021, we're going back in time with the way this is set up. And what these say is, from my opinion and theirs, you cannot do that. Is everybody in agreement? So, is there any other discussion? All right, put that in the form of a motion of in the form of a motion of what y'all want to do on premium pay.
So legally, we cannot do it.
Not based on the situation I brought for you today.
Can we just table this until we get some more information, so we know?
Well, we have the information, Jimmy, we just need to figure out how to do it legally.
Right, and
You
that's
know?
what
Yes,
that's what I
sir.
wanted to table it until we can get the right information.
Well, I think, well, I don't know.
From our lawyers.
Lawyer advice here. I don't know if we table it or we end it and then start over in a new direction.
That's, well, I think under, assuming you're trying to follow Robert's Rules of Order strictly, I think if you table something, that implies that it's going to be, that it is going to be brought up at a later date, but I think you'd be tabling the same item, so. And frankly, it doesn't matter, I mean, you know, you can put a different thing on the agenda or the same thing on the agenda every
It's
meeting.
still
and
gonna be
it's gonna
the same thing. We're
the
still
same thing,
going.
or it's gonna be something you can consider, whether you tabled it previously or it's died for lack of a second, or it's died for lack of a motion, or it's, you know, you've had a motion that has been voted down.
Actually, Vicky did make a motion.
So I guess under that, you'd have to do something with your motion.
So basically, Jim, you're saying they could act on saying that it is still cost of living?
Well, here is my somewhat legal, somewhat procedural, and somewhat policy
When the
opinion.
procedural thing, I'm sitting over there in the chair. And I'm a rookie, so there you go.
If you're going, first of all, I think it's got to cover every employee that Hale County currently has as of the date that you're gonna make the payment. And so you don't have that information on for your totals and all that to know how much to vote on. Second, depending on if it's and frankly, well, let me say one more thing, thinking of this. If you're going to make some sort of payment, I think, you know, strictly speaking, budget-wise, it's gonna take a budget amendment, and so theoretically, that's supposed to be something you can't foresee, or that's because of calamity or something like that. Now, we've, again, not always been just
Yes.
strictly faithful to that statutory provision either, and y'all have some discretion, I guess, to decide on that, so. So, I'm not sure from a legal posture, and if it's gonna be based on something else like, months of service and an amount and all that, I think you would have to, I think you're gonna have to have a budget amendment, and then you're gonna have to have set out some sort of criteria, and it may be a lump sum per employer, it may be, you're gonna say we're gonna pay X number of dollars per month of service, or we're gonna, you know, total month of service, not like, or something like that, so.
I will say that I do have Lubbock County's information, and they did just do flat amounts. I believe they did it based on years of service. Somehow, I have the documentation on my desk. I did not read other than the amounts. They started out with 1,500, 3,000, 5,000. Again, they get bigger money than we do, but we don't have to do months, year. We could do a flat amount, straight out.
I guess, after listening to Jim and all that, I guess my opinion is on where we stand right here. To me, we can't legally do this right now So I'm not saying that we can't, like we did that pay back in, what was it, 2000,
Either 12 or 13. I'll
later
have to
on
look at it.
down the road. But I'm thinking right now, with this subject matter here and the subject matter in the Constitution, I don't think we can legally do it.
I'll be glad to
And
bring
I'm
it
not-
back.
And I'm no lawyer, so.
I don't mind getting on the agenda again, I will come back.
All right, one more time. Any more discussion? We'll entertain a motion at this time.
I think you made a motion, so you need to ask for a second.
Second?
What is the motion for?
To pay it out of a different fund is her motion. Requestion, yeah.
She had made one. I forgot about that.
Okay, what was the motion for? To approve
It
it?
was a question if we could, if it could be paid something different, or if we could come back.
So yes, we could come back from a different route.
Sorry.
There's been too much discussion, so. All right,
Do I need to amend my motion?
all right. No second? So dies for lack of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
May be excused.
Yes. All right, on to the next subject. Y'all are probably getting tired of hearing my voice. Next on the agenda is the county judges. It is to review and approve the sale of trust properties in the city of Petersburg. There's 4 of them on the agenda today, and I've looked up, and we'll have to read these each separately because there's 4 different owners, or not the owners yet, but 4 different people buying these properties. So I will start with item number 1. It is a property at 913 Avenue C, Petersburg, Texas, lot number 7 in block 21, Schuler Edition in the city of Petersburg, Hale County, Texas, with the number R12764, and the value is valued at $500. Any discussion on this?
Did they send you how much they're selling it? Are they selling it for the values or?
Normally that's what that is.
Well, all it says here, it says it's CAD value $500. But I don't,
Oh, it's on the, it's on your request to be put on the agenda.
It's sold.
okay, I got it. Thank you. All right, on that property, the CAD value is $500. And do I read the person's name, Jim?
That's fine.
Okay. Anyway, they have, the person wanting to purchase this has offered $4,500. Any discussion? Oh, Lynn, Jim?
No, I don't have any discussion.
Okay, I was thinking.
That's good. That's part of the comments.
All right. At this moment, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. The second one on the property is at 2305 Main Street, Petersburg, the south 50 feet of the north 195 feet. Of block 23, Black Edition in the city of Petersburg, Hale County, Texas. The number is R19391. The CAD value is $750, and the person wanting to purchase it has offered $2,190. Any discussion? discussion? I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Milner,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The third property on the agenda is West First Street, Petersburg, Texas, Lot 3 in Block 32 of the original town of Petersburg, Hale County, Texas. The CAD value is $350. The number is R73461. And they have offered $1,500. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Our fourth property on the agenda is 1811 West Third Street, Petersburg, Texas. The north 30 feet of Kip, second,
It's supposed to
and
be
the
lot
south
2.
40 feet of Lot 3 in Block 51 of the original township of Petersburg, Hale County, Texas. Number is R7745. The CAD value is $350, and the individuals wanting to purchase this have offered $2,266. Any discussion? This moment, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Milner,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Melinda. Next on the judge's agenda is the Petersburg financial and run reports for March 2022. They had 4 runs inside the city limits, 1 run outside the city limits. They were all billable. They had 5 runs total, and they were all billable runs for a total of 5. Their financial report for March 2022, they had $4,333.73 for March, for a year-to-date total of $13,162.73. Total expenses for March of 2022 is $14,213.20. And the total expense for the year was $32,296.68.48, with a difference in March of a minus $9,779.47, with a year-to-date of $19,133.75. And that is our EMS run report and calls for Petersburg. Any discussion? All right, I will entertain a motion on this report.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next on the judge's agenda is our Hale Center EMS financial and run report. The run report, the financial is, the total income is $20,557.76. Total expenses this is for April 2022. Total expense for April 2022 is $22,924.30, with a net income of minus $2,366.54. Any discussion? Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Miller,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda we have AgriLife Extension. And Andy was here Friday to discuss and approve the quote from Lubbock Lock and Key for installment of a new security door lock system for the AgriLife Extension offices on the west side doors. And he gave us
Andy's
a
here.
a printout of what the estimate.
Do you still have the printout? I've got some extra copies if you don't.
Yes, I've got some.
Okay.
I kept up with mine, Andy. From what Andy was talking here lately on the west side of the AgriLife Extension offices, yeah, mind you, there's mostly ladies in that office, mostly during the day. They have had some people coming through those west doors, and they weren't probably exactly the best people in the world. And they were wanting to put in an alarm system that would be able to go through the outside doors and get in, but they were wanting to put a security system on the inside doors where you actually go inside the building. And what they come up with a price from Lubbock Lock and Key for the total job is $4,938.05. And we asked Melinda Friday in work session about where this money would come from, but we brought up another subject, and all of this was done before any of us got in office when that justice system was built, and it was brought to my attention, and I'm not opposed to this, but maybe somebody can tell me that's been here longer. When they built that justice system, everybody was supposed to funnel through that south door and go that way. And since I've been there, we've always come through the west door. So somebody that had it. been
Say it
there.
again. What was the question again? That they were
When they
funneling,
built the Justice Center and the way they set it up with the security system,
it was always supposed to be the district was one end, the extension was another end. That's why when you get to the extension office, you
have
have to
that
have
key
a card to
thing.
get to the district.
okay, that's the question, the answer to my question is
It
what I
was intentionally set up that way as two different.
That's what
I was there when we
Departments,
first
correct.
moved over.
Yeah.
Yes, we've always come through the west door.
Well, that's the way I've always gone through there, but that's why I was asking that question, because I didn't know. All right, back to Auditor Silva's.
It's gonna come out of their building and grounds.
Okay, they got, okay.
It'll come out of the Justice Center building permit.
That's the center building.
Yes, sir.
All right, with my question asked and answered, are there any other questions?
No.
Commissioner Kent?
No.
Okay.
That'll need to be included in your motion. That'll need to be included in the motion. For that to come out of the
Okay,
Justice Center building and grounds.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this and come on.
build Justice Center building and grounds.
Yes.
I'll second. In the amount.
In the amount of $4,938.05.
To Lubbock Locking.
To
To Lubbock Locking.
Lubbock Lock and Key, I'm telling you, I'm a rookie, I'm getting used to this. All right. Motion made by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Milner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, thank y'all, next on the agenda is Jill White Marshall to discuss the move of Kenneth White Gallery to Plainview Health County.
I'll
speak for her. Jill, I'm sorry, she fell the other day and hurt her rib, and she's not doing too well. So, as we
Sir,
were in
you
here.
wanna approach
Okay. Yeah, Jake, you want to come up? You can probably add something to this conversation. So I'm Matt Marshall, I'm her husband, and we had some discussion on this Friday at the agenda. And so for those of you who are not familiar with Kenneth White Galleries, Jill is Mr. White's daughter. Jake here, this is Jake Marshall, our son, and he is Kenneth White's grandson. So as y'all know, Mr. White passed away back May of last year. So the business basically liquidated up until one day they decided that they would really like for Jake to resume the business. So he basically inherited the goodwill of the business. Jill and I live here in Plainview. Jake lives here in Plainview, and his wife Elise Newland, used to be Newland. So what we want to relocate the gallery to Plainview somewhere. And so what we propose or are asking is that if the court has some funds, we would like, we'd like the court to grant us 20 or 25,000, whatever the court's willing to grant, to kind of help us get a start. And so we're just asking for those funds that you might have available for small business. The gallery, if you want some more discussion, and we had this the other day, we bring 50 years of business, so it's not like it's a new upstart. We have, just in Tooele alone in Swisher County, we had 5,000 to 7,000 people a year come through what was his home and gallery at the time. Most of the income from the business is from outside of Hale County. So you're going to be bringing in a lot of, we tend to be kind of a destination. And you might tell them, Jake's running the business right now, so I'm going to let him kind of tell you some of the things what we do. Okay, we manufacture a lot of framed art, paper, canvas. We have books, note cards, decor, Christian items, things like that. We're wanting to bring in a select group of hand-picked new artists. We're thinking about doing that. We do a lot of wholesale and online pay sales. Of course, a gallery. We're trying to find an 8,000 to 10,000 square foot building, and we're hoping to use the funds to help us with maybe a down payment or renovations, so we can manage to have our gallery and our shop in one location, just to facilitate a much easier workflow. So I guess at the end of the day here, what we're asking is, if you would, if the county would grant us $25,000 to promote the small business and to enable us, to help us to move to Hale County or Plainview. And I guess that's the question. That's the question.
I don't know about the funds part of it, but when we talked on Friday, I left here and I immediately went to the Economic Development Corporation, and y'all's phone numbers and addresses and all that, I turned over to Christy Ade, who is head of the EDC, and she was going to start working with the executive board of the EDC and talking to them, because they do give out grant money for, in certain instances, to businesses coming into town. And I don't know if she's contacted y'all yet or not, but I will touch base with her after this meeting is over with again. And I don't know whether we have don't think it does in Jim Tyree's here, but we have money set up in a economic development deal just with inside the county budget. I don't think it falls because we had set that up for Petersburg, Abernathy, Hale, some of the smaller communities. That's why I had that in my thought, that's why I immediately went to the EDC.
I would like to say something. Those I'm assuming, Mr. Marshall, you're referring to the ARPA funds. The COVID
Yes.
funds that the county was given.
Yes.
So that's what he's referring to. And I just asked Jim, does it qualify for something like that? And it does qualify, but he says we would have to establish something. And I'll
Well,
defer to
and
you, Jim.
I actually had that thought in the back of my mind, which I wasn't gonna bring up today till we had our ARPA funds meeting tomorrow, but I'll turn you over to the county attorneys.
I don't think any of our established economic development programs, I don't think y'all fit into those right now. You could certainly use some of the ARPA money to, but it's gonna, and this isn't anything on y'all, this is looking at our end of it.
Yeah.
We've gotta have something, you need to have you need to have a program and some criteria and some guidelines set, because you've gotta have some sort of orderly flow of how do we make these decisions on how we're, if you're gonna give out money like that, how you're gonna do it, and what the qualifications are and on how that's gonna work. So, this is kinda like the pay deal that y'all had to sit through, but it's kind of a deal that probably can't do it today, but if you have a mind to, it's something I'm not saying it can't be done. And I don't know if y'all have talked to the city, I think they might have some more readily accessible funds and programs available that might.
My understanding is that they've pretty well
Completed
been through those. Now, while they have, frontage type things, help you put up a sign or redo the front of a building or something.
it. I know Malta, we own an insurance deal down the street, and she's in that downtown deal. And you can apply for grants, but it is for facade.
Yeah.
Outside of it, so.
Well, it's for facade and then, electrical, air conditioning, plumbing, stuff like that. Renovation stuff that you'd have to have for passing the code.
So would I be in line to ask if the county would consider that some of these funds be used for small business purposes and that we might
That's what we're.
that could proceed?
We have a committee over the ARPA.
Yeah, we're gonna have that meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's why I was gonna bring that subject up, because we're all gonna be discussing, the commissioners have all made lists of what our priorities are on this ARPA list.
I did attend this city's meeting regarding those funds, and they did work with Lubbock and, I just had their name. SPAG. And they were able to do that for the city of Plainview with those grants that they were giving away, those funds for.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
So I'm not, at this point, I don't know if it's something that, kind of going back to earlier, I don't know if it's something that needs to be tabled or if you want to, you're prepared to make a decision at this point.
I think at this point, we'll probably have to table it because we can't get the money out of the county budget. It may come out of our money, but that will go into discussion tomorrow at 9 a.m.
So, could you kind of tell me what my next steps should be as far as the county's concerned?
Yes.
Come to the meeting tomorrow morning.
A holding pattern
Okay.
till we can see about that, and then I will keep pending the ear of the executive board of the EDC. So just
Awesome.
hang tight, we've got your phone numbers and all that, and we really like the idea.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
we'll just table this for now, till we get no action. So we can get some other information.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Carol, is it tabled or no action?
No action. Same.
Well, same difference, like I say, I think when you table something, it requires that it be taken up at a later date, so.
I'm gonna say no action. No action on this subject today. All right, next on our agenda is Commissioner Precinct 4.
Okay, I have an application to cross the county road. County road is County Road 70, and the closest other county road is County Road C. Instead of coming from my area, and I am making a motion to approve this crossing. Made by Andrew Francis, and the contractor is going to irrigation.
You heard from Commissioner Precinct 4, Jimmy Kelly, or Commissioner Kelly. Is there any discussion on the water line under County Road 70? No discussion. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Commissioner Milner,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Oh, they do need the judge to sign.
Oh, and we need the judge to sign. And can we amend the motion to have the judge sign it? Yes, second. Next on the agenda is the Emergency Management Coordinator, Jesse Mendoza.
Skipped one, Hal.
Been a long morning. Very quickly, first item is Friday, we talked about Johnson Controls, and so
That's the work session.
just want to pass out the first bid on it. And what I'm requesting the court is to allow me to it's gonna be a substantial amount of money involved.
You want to do Belinda?
I've got some for them too.
No, that's why I was giving you that.
What I did was I just highlighted, on the first page, I highlighted what the cost would be from this company, and then on the second page, it gives you the scope of what the job would actually entail.
It says proposal. Yeah.
And they're only talking about circuit 1, and so there's also a leak on circuit 2, which would have tremendously affect our air conditioning system at the courthouse. But what I'm requesting the court is allow me to get a second bid on it so we can work with it.
And entertain the discussion on the Johnson Control and Chiller.
I'd like to see another quote from another company.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, we didn't know it was a little half paragraph, or whatever you want to do with it. That sounds like a whole lot of money
That's just for one circuit, it's gonna be both of them, so yes, it's a substantial amount of money.
for,
Yes, that's just for one circuit, yes.
You get a bid on both circuits on the next?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It'll be the same amount.
you know, so 2 circuits will be 14,000.
Yes, sir.
Can we change that word from bid to proposal? Since it's under the $50,000?
What's under
On here it's listed as a bid.
Yeah, stand corrected, it's a proposal, correct. It reads as such.
Bid implies something else.
Yeah. I would like to change the discussion and request to proposals for repairs on the courthouse children. With that, I think we need to have somebody else come and look at it. So, Can
I will do that, yes.
table this till emergency management coordinator Jesse Mendoza can come back with another proposal, and then we'll look at this subject again. Thank you. Next item for you, Jesse.
The second item I have is a couple of court sessions ago, I presented a document to the court that Judge Mold, y'all authorized Judge Mold to sign so that an HVAC company out of Dallas, E3, we authorized them to look at our utility usage. And so the reason I'm here again today is E3 contacted me and Excel wouldn't give them that information until we have another form. And this form, and I'll pass this out to you. And this form basically says that the customer of record for our electric account, we just need to get them to sign this form, whether it be the judge or whoever's the customer of record on our electric account. And that'll authorize, I think it's gonna be the auditor. That'll, no, okay, it's not the auditor.
No, sir.
Whoever pays the bills.
Well,
Not-
process the bills for payment, but
Okay.
the county judge is the authorized representative to sign any and all agreements with the county.
So
That's one of them.
my request is, this request that the court allow someone, to be the judge, to sign this form so that I can send it back to E3, so they can send it to Excel, so that Excel will release the information and we can move forward.
All right. I will entertain a motion to discuss, or any discussion. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve a form for E3 for utilities regarding the HVAC system and have the county judge to sign it.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Milner,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. One last request. So I wanted to briefly mention grass fires. And so in the last few weeks, since April the 12th, we had the airport fire. The very next day, we had the fire at the Ole Liner Center. And then last week, we had another fire on 400. And so a couple of comments on that. One, the response from the fire departments was exceptional. Several agencies showed up. The main point I want to make is Commissioner King and Commissioner Milner both showed up at all those three fires. We called various assets from state level, but the precinct workers, the work that they did was unbelievably exceptional. In those three fires, we county employees accumulated slightly under 100 hours of manpower, and not including the bulldozers, maintainers that they brought. So the point I'm making here is I noticed a couple of things. One is the work was outstanding, but we have a slight trouble with communication, and that is radio, how we communicate. So I'll bring that up at the meeting tomorrow. But what I want to talk about is we also have a lack of CDL drivers. The fire departments have the equipment to get to the fire, but they need water to keep filling the fire trucks up. We came up with 6 CDL drivers within all 4 precincts. So my request is that we allow those CDL precinct people to be allowed to, when the fire department needs a water truck driver, they're not gonna be volunteer firemen, they're just gonna be called and say, while they're fighting the fire, that employee can bring the water truck to the site, and that'll be about the same time that the fire trucks will need to be replenished with water. Hale Center has a 5,000 gallon fire truck, water truck, and requires a Class B license. And I think Commissioner Milner just came up with a 1,000 gallon water tank, and that can also be brought out there, and that'll help tremendously.
So, I guess, my precinct's got the most of CDLs, and I've got 3. So, are we just, how many of y'all have?
Should we have to?
And one single driver.
So we've got 6 CDL drivers. You think that's enough? Keep keep them on call.
Sir, Commissioners, that's what we have for now, and that's what we have to work with in the future, and that's, it's kind of part of this, what I requested here is, we need to be working with all the precinct workers and commissioners about maybe getting more CDL drivers, and I'll look into that CDL program. It's changed tremendously. It might take a little bit of work, some incentives to get more precinct workers to get their CDLs.
That's why I asked, I didn't know if you were going to, not saying we're gonna do it, but if you're gonna start requiring more of the road hands and all that to have the CDL.
I believe it's in, what,
I was gonna say, I believe it's in the job description, so if y'all do not want all your employees to be CDL drivers, then therefore you've hired people again,
Yeah.
that
See, I
you
guess I really-
don't have CDLs, but I believe it is in their job description that they're required to have a CDL, so.
and I'm going in the future, in the near future, I'll explore that possibility of coordinating, so where we can do some in-house training on getting ready to work on their CDLs. We'll see how that process goes.
But you know, back to that, I think when I came into office nearly 12 years ago, I'm thinking it was, Joe. At that point in time, I think there was only 2 guys.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The job description, I believe, says it, but y'all have hired people that are not CDL drivers.
I was just thinking back when I took over, there was only 2 in precinct 1, and we've since grown to.
Yeah, and of course, that was previous, all of y'all's time, since
Yes.
those job descriptions have been created. I was here, but that's the way it was.
Yeah. Continue, Jesse.
So that was basically, I'll explore that program where, how we can go about getting more CDL drivers. And the last thing I want to say is, the fires that we had were large fires, but the reports that I get every day of the various fires and throughout the state, primarily in this part of the state, our fires were very, very small. What I look at every day is 1,200 acres, 1,000 acres, and it takes a lot of resources. The county's working, doing a great job. Everyone shows up, particularly the sheriff's office. They show up for traffic control and other parts of it. But we need to move forward, and one way to do that is with the CDL program.
And I can say this, I'm 58 years old and grown up here. And that airport fire was by far the biggest trash fire I've ever seen in Hale County. And I'd like to say, thank you still every now and then, my pickup smells like smoke. But it was, and that fire got scary when it started crossing that old rubber highway. I think on this though, we just, I mean, I don't think we need a vote or anything on this. I think this is more, was just for discussion.
Information,
public
yes, sir.
information. You agree, Jim?
Yes.
We can move on to the next.
No.
Okay.
Next, next,
No action.
no action, no action. Next on the agenda is, it says Harold King, it should actually read County Commissioner Precinct 1, and I'm doing this for Judge Maul. It is a resignation letter from Chris Daniel to Judge Maul. It has been my honor to serve alongside you and the other commissioners. Please accept my official letter of resignation from the office of Hale County Commissioner, Precinct 2. This resignation will be effective May 13th, 2022. Respectfully, Chris Daniels. I've got a message, you make me lonely over here. Any discussion? I will put that in entertain a motion to accept this resignation.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly.
May I say something? I just want to tell the court that as an elected official, you don't just resign. I will continue paying Chris until the judge appoints one. So he's still responsible, but will not be on the job sites. So I just want the court to know his resignation is effective as soon as the judge appoints another commissioner.
Second Second by Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, we have our county attorney on the agenda. Hey. I
You
saw
did get a
that.
better person sitting in here, ginger requests than me, I guess. Good morning again. The first thing I have for you this morning is a public hearing to consider the creation of what will be Hale County Reinvestment Zone Number 11. We received a request to do this from Jupiter Power, which is a company that is putting in yet another solar farm down toward Abernathy. This one is located sort of northeast of Abernathy, sort of on the opposite side of the road from the previous one for Abernathy Solar, and involves a little bit more acreage than them, and I believe y'all are, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, Randy Soul from Jupiter Power is here, and I'll turn it over to him first to let him just sort of tell y'all what's going on with this project.
Thank you, Mr. Tyree. Good morning to the court.
Good morning.
My name is Randy Sowell. Jupiter Power's been developing this 500 megawatt solar facility, as Mr. Tyree said, north of Abernathy. I discussed this with Judge Mull a little over a month ago, I guess. I got to tour the site with Commissioner Daniel. He made it apparent why he needed to resign. It's an understandable thing. But this has been really a pleasure. I want to thank Judge Mull for including this on the agenda. Particular gratitude to County Attorney Tyree for guiding me through this process. Normally, I would not bring this before the court until we were a little closer to construction. We have a little over 4,000 acres leased. We're getting interconnected into the Blackwater Draw substation. That is an ERCOT substation. The other solar project goes into a Southwest Power Pool substation, Tuco substation. So they're not in direct competition with each other. I think that this would be a good potential industry for the High Plains and for Hale County. And personally, I hope both projects actualize to expand the tax base. The reason that I'm coming here today is, as you may know, the Tax Chapter 313 limitation of appraised value program with the school districts terminates at the end of the year. So I've worked with Superintendent Waldrop and his board to approve an acceptance for a 313 agreement. Because this is the last year, there are a record number of applications going into the controller's office. My boss wrote me some email last night that the total value of the application this year is more than the entire 20-year period of the program. So it's going to be very difficult for the controller to evaluate all of the applications before the end of the year. Recent guidance from the controller's office indicates that if applications are not complete, they will be set aside until such time as they are complete. The only thing that's lacking for our application to be complete is a designation of a reinvestment zone. Now, though the tax chapter allows school districts to do this, it's customary to bring this before the court. That's the way I've always done these things. I think the school board would be more confident in having the court aware of this and approve its designation. So that's basically it. It's been a real pleasure to work in this neighborhood. It's grown organically within the community. One landowner has introduced me to the next. I was actually about 6 months later than the competition. I was advising some of the landowners on solar leases because they hadn't seen those before. Eventually, they asked me to develop a project for them. It's really been great to work with everyone down there. Mr. Mendoza was great to help us with the 911 address for this site. So, you know, it's our intention to expand the tax base in Hale County, but we're really early in the development of this site. We have the ability to interconnect with Encore by December of 2024, which means that we could begin building early in 2024. But this is a 500 megawatt project, and the projects of this size in my neighborhood, I live in the Trans-Pecos, it's taken 2 years to build a site of this size, so it's probably going to be 2025 before we're complete. That's pretty far down the road, but these projects or these facilities are they're automated. They're automatically remotely monitored and controlled. So actually, local taxation is the largest operating expense for a solar project, and the consideration that the school board is considering is really critical to the economic model for these. So as this is a public hearing, I'd be happy to hear any questions from the court. Are there any questions from the audience?
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tyre.
As he said, this is a public hearing, so I think you would be prudent if you ask if there's anyone that wants to speak for or against the creation of the zone.
Is there anybody in the audience today that would like to speak for or against the solar farm in Abernathy?
And we have met all of the conditions precedent to y'all considering this issue, and I guess the only thing we have to, unless y'all have any questions of me,
So we need to vote on
you just need to vote whether to create the zone and then allow the county judge to execute the order. I have one prepared. It took me 3 attempts to get it all printed out this morning, so I'd like to look it over and make sure it's all correct. Get him to sign it.
With that, I will entertain a motion for the Jupiter Power Plant down by Abernathy with the judge to sign.
I'll make the motion to create this.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Milner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd like to thank the court for your consideration. As Judge Mull is not here today, and as the controller will require verification of the designation of the reinvestment zone, I'd like to seek guidance on how that will be provided, Mr. Tyler.
Once the judge signs the order, then I'll get it filed with and we have some paperwork the Central Appraisal District has to sign off on, and then we'll get it filed with the controller's office,
So can you scan me a
Sure,
copy?
I'll send you a copy of it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
next item I have, I guess I would like to ask y'all to go into a closed session. I think the correct section number would be under section 551.074 of the
Hang
government
on,
code.
551.074.
074. Texas Government Code, which allows you to consult, conduct a private consultation with an attorney. When my duties to you of conflict, the provisions of the Open Meetings Act would conflict with the Texas Rules of Disciplinary Procedure.
I will call this Commission's Court into recess at 9:35. We will go into a closed session in accordance with Government Code 551.074.